Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. Today we are talking Westworld Season 4 as a whole and the finale. I'm Ravi, and as always, joined by...
Arjuna, the man in blue.
And Krishna, the bold one.
And I want to start by saying to both you guys, my brothers, I'd like to apologize because it was my... misguided I don't know, opinion, whatever you want to call it. I was the one that said to you, hey, Westworld Season 4, it's pretty cool, you should give it a watch. And
Yeah, that was definitely you, because I was not going to watch.
Yes.
And you have to for the pod.
and I apologized. So
Yeah. No, that's interesting that you apologized.
Yeah, I will say, like, halfway through, I was like, oh, I see it. I see
Yes.
the vision.
yes,
You know, we're talking spoilers, obviously, for all of Westworld, but I think one of the highlights of the season was episode 4 with the reveal that our good pal, Aaron Paul, Caleb, has been dead this whole time. You've been seeing memories and flashbacks, and you're like, oh, Westworld could still kind of pack a punch and pack a twist. But yeah, that's where I'll start. That was the highlight for me.
I'll be honest. I mean, it's around episode 5 is kind of when I said to you, well, hey, Westworld is picking back up. It's doing some interesting things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of went south from there, honestly. I think
Yeah.
once the reveal happened and everything was kind of brought to the present, if you will, in Westworld. So, Hale has won. People are under under the control. Once we kind of came to that present time period, everything for me anyway really fell apart there, where it got very not interesting and mundane.
That's really interesting, because for me, it didn't go down. It stayed pretty good for me, which is shocking. This is shocking revelation here on the pod, because I've hated season 3. So
Christian's a
think-
Westworld truther.
I mean, I
what
think
does that mean?
I think I'm at with this season where Krishna was with season 3, where overall was not a big fan, and I think it really hurt, or really kind of really just was not good with that finale. Like, that finale just did not do the show justice, honestly. Like,
I'm
it
gonna
should
push
have
back.
ended with just episode 8 and been done.
I'm going to push back, because with that finale, I think it perfectly wraps up Westworld. In my opinion, after that finale, you do not need any more Westworld. It's done.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Therefore, it's a good finale. We don't need to, we don't have to mine through more Westworld. Like, I think with that finale, it would be a mistake to do any more Westworld.
Well, what's interesting is, the taping of this podcast, HBO under the Warner Discovery, banner, whatever, they've not renewed for season 5 as of right now. So
Yeah.
it's possible that, the show is done. I couldn't sleep. We'll say that.
What?
That's the reason why I couldn't sleep. So I've been up for hours. I was, in the Westworld subreddit. I was reading theories and things. But the one thing that I found very interesting, if you look at the last, roughly 12 hours on that Westworld community, that subreddit, a lot of the top posts are not really actually like theory based. It was more just cool. I guess it's done. That's fine. Whatever. Like, it used to be, that subreddit used to be very, what does this mean? What does this mean? And making all these connects, and it felt very kind of bland, if you will. Like, it wasn't that excitement.
Yeah.
That period.
I think in general, I probably fall somewhere between both of you, but I think in general for Westworld this season, Westworld's it's been tricky because it comes out every 2 years, so it's kind of hard to maintain an audience with such a large gap. And I think because season 3 was kind of middling in a lot of ways, a lot of people didn't necessarily catch on to season 4. Season 4 also just felt like it came out of nowhere a little bit. Like, there wasn't a ton of marketing, the usual marketing push out that HBO was putting around it. probably because of a dip in the show, probably because of change in leadership at the top, figuring out what the priorities are at the company, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then I think the season had a few inflection points, but I do think it had it kind of did the Westworld thing where its over ambitious season kind of petered out a little bit at the end. I will say, they did kill everyone pretty much. At least that's my understanding of the finale. Like, I think everyone is dead. In theory, I mean everything's a simulation now, right? It's all Delores' simulation.
It's Delores world now.
And then everything is kind of doomed. And Krishna, I think probably they've set up one last season. So
I know.
I would say like it's all coming back full circle. The whole thing of loops and identity and kind of bringing it back to the parks makes a lot of sense for this show. And this feels like that's set up. But this could serve as a finale too, if needed, because there's a with everything going on at Warner Discovery, I think there's a good chance they're just like,
it doesn't come back.
This show is over. This show is too expensive, which it could be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, also, I think the exciting thing, I'm sure we'll get to this later when we're speculating on the future, is that if it's all a simulation for a final season, in theory, anyone could come back.
I was going to say that,
Right.
yeah. The big thing is, like, we saw all of these on-screen deaths. Like, a lot of them happened, actually, in Episode 8.
7.
Episode 7, sorry. In Episode 7, the big one being Hale, the way it's always been originally was if the pearl of a host is destroyed, the person is gone. But at the beginning of Episode 8, Hale is brought back very quickly. Also, Bernard mentioned to Maeve that, there is a version or worked with a version of you in the Sublime via various simulations. So to the point of, everything is a simulation, then there are copies already of everybody. The other big thing, too, is Westworld, way back under the leadership of, Ford and everything, they were gathering people's, not essence, but they were capturing the brain waves and all that fun stuff. So you have all that information as well in the Sublime. That's how, remember, Bernard was able to do all the simulations and everything of people. So even humans that we've seen, like the Man in Black, could essentially live and be in the Sublime as well. So
and there's a hint of that at the end of season 2, which is the flash forward like end credit scene where the Man in Black is once again in the forge and his daughter is there, and it's this weird kind of simulation, and it's kind of alluding to that they're doing the sentience test that they showed with his father-in-law in the flashbacks that season. So that's actually where we could be heading. Like, essentially, Delores might bring everybody back in some way, shape, or form and see who kind of survives and who doesn't, and whatever her final test/game is. She is finally the game master.
Yeah, I mean, you already know how season 5 is going to end. Like, that's why it'd be like such a shame to do it. Like, there's only one way for it to go, and that's like some people pass the test and humanity evolves into a pure simulation like that, and they'll flash forward and it'll show present day, and the implication is that today's world is a simulation, and it's sort of like Westworld is like our history. That would be like my bold prediction. I know we're jumping the gun here, but
wow,
for me that's the only way it can end, and it was like, why do it? Just leave it as it is.
I agree with Christian. Like, I think it's okay. Like, I don't know if the season 5 if having it makes sense beyond just fulfilling some fans, desire to, what is the Delores plan? Because obviously they end it with Delores and her, tons of speeches and everything. That's the other thing I think that kind of I didn't like is Delores is a character.
The monologues.
The monologues are fine. I mean, the monologues at this point are the same that they've been since the beginning. And I think that actually ties into the whole loop thing and everything. But, like, I really liked Christina. Delores. Christina. Like, it was a fresh, new character, new thing. I didn't like the fact that it was, actually, it's just Delores. Like, again, it's different.
It's just a part of her consciousness, though. Like, that was the whole
right, but it is
thing.
A version of Delores, right? And now it's gone back full Delores, right? Like, you could argue this is the Delores that's been with us since the beginning. again, it goes back to like I think we've talked about this before. Like when you have a TV show and impactful deaths of a character, if they don't stay dead or they consistently come back, you lose that kind of like emotional punch, right? The only one right now that is an emotional punch anyway for me is Aaron Paul's character.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's just because I like Aaron Paul and I like his character. And
Strength
then,
of the season.
Yeah, but then the realization of like what happened to him, right? Dead 20 years, and then there's this thing walking around that's supposed to be him, and then that thing, like the entire part in episode 6 when he's, basically playing a video game, right? Keeps going as far as he can, dies, and then the next version.
So well done.
Doctor Who.
was
There's a Doctor
horrifying.
Who episode just like that with
Yep.
the 12th Doctor, where
Yeah.
he kind of just keeps looping over and over again.
How many? It's
I
a
will
million,
push
billion
back
years or
a little
something?
bit on the character thing, because for Westworld and all its flaws, I do feel like even when I was thinking about this holistically as the show has gone, of like where you started in season 1 with the hosts just kind of being these hosts that were stuck on loops and how they've evolved and changed. I do think like if you track Delores from season 1 to 4, you could almost say she's 4 different characters. She's evolved so much from just this like this host that was taken advantage of and abused in a lot of ways in season 1, right? She's kind of coming to consciousness. Then she's the Wyatt personality in season 2, where she has the bloody uprising. Season 3, she's not as dastardly or evil, but she still has kind of these
Cyberpunk
manipulations
Delores.
and plans. And then the season 4 version is also another different version. So, like, you could make the argument that Delores has died, obviously, multiple times, and, like, all those versions of those characters are dead. And now we're going to get even another new version. Because, like,
I think
Christina is kind of dead.
Yeah, I think what Ravi's saying, though, is this final version that we're going to get is a culmination of all of those versions. She can remember everything, right? This is the God version of Delores. So you're definitely right, but this is going to be her This is her final form. This is Super Saiyan 5.
This is Pokemon. Actually, Westworld is Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no,
or Dragon Ball Z.
Going back to like Dragon Ball Z, when there's always another form and you can always get more powerful. At some point, you're just like, cool, whatever.
You're God.
It's the same thing with this show where it's like, cool, there's another version of Delores running around. Great.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be a final twist in season 5 that will fundamentally change the ending or come to a conclusion that we don't see coming. There's got to be a lesson in there that's like mind-blowing. Yeah, maybe we're thinking too small. Maybe the creators know exactly what that is and it's all been building to something epic. But to me, it seems like the writing's on the wall. Like it seems like it can only go one way, but I'm not the writer, I'm not the creator. So I'm limited in what I know about the show.
I figured out the entire show. There's a line in one of these last few episodes where they talk about simulations, and they're like, the humans, before they launched Westworld, ran simulations before they built everything. And we're going to pull back all the way, and it's going to be Ford and Arnold running a simulation, and this is their ultimate conclusion. We're like, I guess we won't open the park.
That would be so annoying.
That would be really annoying.
It's like, and you know what? The whole thing, it was all a dream.
No, but again, I think the interesting thing with Westworld is they said at the get-go, after like when they're doing the press stuff, I think post or something for season 1, the creators did say like they have an idea of where everything is going and how it will all end. Obviously, I'm sure it's where we're at right now is not necessarily 100% exactly that, but the one thing that always intrigued me with the show was that they said that statement. Like, we know where we're going. We have a general plan. It's not like we're making this up season to season. And I think that's also why there is such a big, gap in between the show. I do think, I agree with both of you. I think it is going to be one of those, because Westworld has always been, you're in this setup, and then you pull out and you see the bigger thing, and you pull out, you see the bigger thing. And I think the final, the final pull out, if you will, is going to be like, similarly surprised to like what Arjun is saying, where it's like, we're running a simulation, this is how it's all going to kind of run out. The other thing that you reminded and the people on Reddit discovered or threw up, you remember in season 3 there's the big supercomputer that's kind of Robenheim. So there's a screenshot that they pulled from season 3 where he's got the timeline of humanity's end, and they've compared where we're at in the story on Westworld, and so far, Romanheim is
Romanheim.
yeah, Romanheim is correct in terms of its predictions about the end of humanity and everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, here's the thing about predictions, right? If you make a prediction, it's more likely to come true because now you have something to focus on.
Isn't there a Twitter handle that like predicts every single sports or as many sports scores and things as possible, and then just retweets the correct ones?
Probably. I mean, that's genius if that's the thing.
Yeah,
And
I'm not sure.
I do hope it's automated and not like actually a person doing that manually, because
An
that would
AI?
suck. Yeah.
Have we learned nothing from Westworld?
I don't know. What is the lesson to learn from Westworld? If there is
Don't
a
create
lesson?
AI. Just don't do it.
But we've already done that. It's already out. I mean,
No,
somebody already.
not that level.
Well, no. So there's a theory that's it's an old theory. It's been debunked. I think I brought it to you all, which is called the dead internet theory, which is that AI already exists and the majority of the internet traffic is just AI bots, and it's been that way for like almost a decade now. We've just been conditioned not to notice it.
So wait, you're saying they're just AI bots surfing the web for their own entertainment?
Basically, and they're the ones that are propping up like social media posts and other things.
What if we're those bots?
I mean, we are bots.
What if we're inside the internet?
The internet. There we go. How is that?
Al
We
Gore.
are internet.
We
Bum,
are
ba-dum, bum,
internet.
bum,
Dun,
bum,
dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
How would you guys sum up? You can do your one-word impression either for the finale or the whole season, but specify what you're doing.
I'll go first. I'm gonna say Caleb is my one-word impression because that's why I didn't mind the finale, because I found that stuff with Caleb and his daughter really well done and kind of emotional.
I mean, he's kind of the last human in the show.
Exactly. I mean, even though
And
he's
he's not
even
even
a
human anymore.
Yeah. And I thought it was such a, like I love that last image of the boat leaving and he's staying behind, like tweaking,
Wait, why would you love that? He's tweaking.
Because well,
He's
it's not,
addicted
that's,
to
that's
blue
an
meth.
element. That's an element of the image, right?
Gotcha.
Like,
But it's the way
so-
it's the way you said it. It's kind of weird. Like,
yeah.
I love this image of this like robot tweaking out.
Oh dear. No, yeah, and I thought it was well done. Aaron Paul can act his socks off. Ever since Breaking Bad. So big fan of his work. But yeah, I found that like the emotional center of this season, and it was a through line from the first episode to the last episode. I think part of the reason I didn't like season 2 and 3 is that season felt more disjointed. There wasn't really a through line, or at least a through line I can remember, all the way through the season. At least not one that I enjoyed as much as the through line in this season, which is Caleb and his daughter. And I like that even during the season, it was like there were points where you're like, you're trying to figure out like with scenes with the daughters, like, is that real? Is that a memory? Is that an implanted memory? Is the little girl running around? Is that a robot? So I like that there were question marks about halfway through around the whole thing as well. So yeah, Caleb.
Do you know what's your one-word impression?
I'm going to go for the entire season, and I'm going to say binge. And the reason I say binge is because I pretty much binged this entire season. I tried to watch week to week, never really had a chance. And then to catch up for this podcast in particular, I really binged it over this weekend. And it was more enjoyable, I would say that way. The first 3 seasons of Westworld I watched week to week, and even though every episode is very dense and there's a lot to chew and speculate on, I think it was nice just to be able to go to the next one and get there, especially because I think when you holistically look at a full season of Westworld and you think of like the theories you have in the first few episodes and you get to the end, you're like, I'm wildly wrong, or like this makes no sense, or whatever. And I took a peek at some of the Reddit and some of the theories from like the first few episodes to the end of the season just to see how like wrong they were. And one in particular that I found interesting was the whole Christina Teddy thing. A lot of people speculated about where that timeline took place. And some people thought it was actually at the tower where Maeve and Caleb kind of go 7 years before the show, where Caleb kind of gets shot. and all that stuff, and that's the last remnants of Robenheim, and they thought that was like a simulation within Robenheim and taking place right before it got deleted or something.
Huh,
So it's just like, it's just interesting. I think this is a show you can kind of, no pun intended, go mad and like just thinking of all the different theories and ways that the show can kind of work. And I think with the binge, it's just kind of nice to be able to move through it and see what's up and what's going on. And I think if there is a final season, and if I do decide to watch it, I think I would probably try and binge it again.
Same.
I think for my one-word impression, I'm going to go with fly. I now have an irrational fear of the common, fly that you see. I believe that they are going to enter my eyeball, and I will slowly go mad, and my brain will turn to goo.
That's a healthy fear, I would say.
It is a healthy fear.
A war on flies. Let's begin.
We should exterminate. What good are flies, by the way?
I'm sure they have a very important function in
I understand.
the overall ecosystem.
I understand like bees and stuff, but what does the
Spiders.
fly? What does the fly do?
I actually think it's something to do with fecal matter.
Really?
Oh God.
I don't know though. Maybe I'm making that up.
Are flies and mosquitoes related? Are they cousins?
Second cousins actually.
Because mosquitoes do nothing.
So
I just
typically,
suck our blood.
typically the mosquitoes will call the fly and say, "Hey, cousin, you want to go bowling?"
Mosquito cousin.
That's 2 straight episodes of mentioning cousins.
I mean,
Well, spoiler alert. That comes in the next episode.
Damn it. Hey, honestly, we've done so many pods recently. Time is not a flat circle. It's
talk
It
to
is a
Matthew.
square.
Talk to Matthew
It's a maze.
McConaughey about it, and he'll get you there.
Did you guys enjoy that they brought back so many host characters for this last episode, like Trevor, and then William's buddy? I don't know if he's his buddy, but
Laszlo.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was great. Those
It was fun.
those are fun. Stephen
Yeah.
Hawking is who plays Trevor in GTA, and then obviously a host in
yeah.
Westworld was a delight. Especially
I
when
call
he's
him
like,
Trevor.
you wouldn't believe how many of these things I've killed, and then he gets killed.
Yeah,
Great.
I thought it was fun. It was fun.
I also enjoyed when the city's falling apart, and you have the sniper, and then you have the man in black shoot the guy. He's like fucking campers. Video game reference.
That first 10 minutes felt very much like Fortnite or
The other
GTA
the other
multiplayer
funny
or
thing I saw on Reddit was Hale's video game versus Man in Black's video game. Hale's is like The Sims. Man in Black is GTA.
Yes,
which is a perfect analogy of
I'll take it back. I'll take it back. I said Ravi poses the theory that, or Juno, I forget who, pulls back and the whole thing is just a simulation. If it's a simulation to test games, I will love it. It's like, we tested The Sims.
The Matrix 4.
Yeah. Oh God.
I mean, that would be. I
horrible
mean,
movie.
That's essentially what the Matrix, the fourth one, was, right?
There's only one
Horrible.
way that this show can be saved. It is related to Jurassic Park somehow. Remember the latest Jurassic World all had to do with the fly locust things? That's that's the connection right there.
Holy shit! And isn't it the original writer
Michael-
of
yeah,
Westworld,
Michael Crichton.
Crichton?
Yeah.
And he wrote Jurassic Park, and wasn't there during the first season? I mean, that was so long ago now. But wasn't there rumors flying around that it was connected to Jurassic Park?
There was a rumor that they were gonna have a Jurassic Park
or
world.
Jurassic World. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
that never came.
Or will it? No, it probably won't.
Are you guys excited for episode 9 though of Westworld? It comes out, I think, this week. It's gonna take place in Game of Thrones land.
Oh, I see what you did there. It's called House of the Dragon.
That wasn't me. I saw that on the internet. I did not come to that. I saw somebody posted that, and I was for a good second. I was like, wait a second. There's an episode 9.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, no. It's.
I was like, why are we doing this pod?
Was it season 2 that had the dragon and the creators?
Yes,
cameo?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Season 2.
I think that was. Yeah, it was because that was
Also the
Ninja World.
Yeah, there was around
Trojan
that.
World.
It was also the final season of Game of Thrones as well during their
Yeah.
second season. So they were doing a whole cross thing to help promote that terrible season.
Oh no!
That's
So we got season 2 of Westworld.
That's the other reason I'm like concerned if there is a season 5. Like HBO, at least with their bigger, more recent blockbusters, they don't do necessarily a good job with wrapping up shows. So that's always a concern as well. And
So
again,
our one-word impression sentence is Caleb Fly Binge.
sounds like a brewery or something.
Oh, actually, you
Come
should
on down to
reword it
Caleb
to,
Fly Binge.
instead
Get
of
yourself a beer.
reword it so like Gandalf, instead of saying "fly, you fools," it's like "fly, binge, Caleb."
Binge Caleb
Binge
sounds
Fly
like
and Caleb.
that sounds like a name from D&D.
Binge
I am
Caleb.
Binge Caleb.
Oh,
I am a
I'm
bard.
going to steal that. I'm going to steal that. Thank you.
Binge Caleb. Yes,
Binge
when I
Caleb.
start my D&D campaign that takes place in Westworld.
Oh,
What about
You know what
the
would be
cannibal
great?
campaign?
You know what would be great about doing like a D&D campaign in Westworld? You could just have the soundtracks playing and everyone will be like, "Oh, this feels so good. This feels correct."
also you could just make shit up every 5 seconds, and because it's Westworld.
And you could
Simulation-
reset and say it's all
Yeah.
a simulation.
Simulation
you could
5229 is now over. Now we are starting
And also,
whatever.
and also, whenever characters die, you can just bring them back because
Yeah.
it was either a simulation or you didn't destroy the core.
The one thing I'm surprised by both of you and even myself, and we're almost halfway into this pod and nobody's brought it up, but Hobbs, what the hell?
You mean Stubbs?
Stubbs, yes. Stubbs.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked at that.
I did not like
because
that death.
it seemed so unceremonious.
Yes, big
All of a
time.
sudden, he's just dead.
Like he was taken and just thrown into a sharp thing like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Well, you
man.
gotta
Did-
remember, he's also one of the older models. Like, he's OG model. So he's kind of inferior in a lot of ways.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
But like there was a special place, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Bernard
thought
told him.
Yeah, I think like the biggest strength of the whole series so far was Bernard and Stubbs, like their buddy cup routine, and it was when Bernard gives him that final hug, it got me right there because you knew one or both were dead.
Did
And
you
they both died.
tear up?
No, I didn't tear up, but I felt something in my chest.
I will say, I thought another strength of the season was the Caleb Maeve dynamic.
Yep.
And
was good,
after
yeah.
episode 4, when they're basically split apart and Maeve doesn't do much more after that, that's when the show I thought dipped a bit. I still don't understand what the point of having Maeve was. Like, why Bernard was like, we have to save Maeve. Like, that to me was like a little murky.
It's because she's a fan favorite, so they need to. It's the same with like Clementine. Like, think about for a second, like what. Actually, here's a better question I pose on both of you: how is she still around?
I mean, they rebuilt her. Like,
No,
they
I
just
get
used her as a
yeah, but
whatever.
again, I think it's just like these are fan favorites, so they just have them there. To your point,
And you can
like,
explain, you can explain the Maeve thing where it's like Bernard needed certain Ravi's absolutely right. How they'll explain it in the show is that Bernard needed certain things to happen exactly. And so if
Right.
Maeve didn't bring Charlotte outside, they don't both get killed by William. And then Charlotte doesn't get rebuilt bigger and stronger to take
Right.
down William, So
And then
that's
to
how
give-
they'll explain it.
Yeah, I mean the big one too is right. The whole purpose of Bernard showing up was to allow Hale to make the choice to put Delores back in the Sublime, so that Delores, can go and make
Her choice.
Her choice. So choices.
Yeah. What about my choice?
Oh boy.
Ravi took it away when you said you have to watch this show for the pod.
I think after this, like, I mean, the other thing too is like you can't, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like everything is bad with this show because you're still thinking about it hours afterwards. Like, I'm sure at some random point in the next week or two, a conversation will come up about it or whatever. And I think it is going to be interesting to like see what happens next because, Warner Discovery will make the decision of to renew it or not to renew it. And even if they do renew it, it doesn't mean that we're going to get the same quality or even a cohesive like story that you would have gone maybe if the Warner Discovery merger didn't happen, right? Like when these big things happen, you have new people in charge. They have new ideas. They have the way they want certain things to go.
Right.
It's possible that, we get a season 5, and for some fucked up reason, the heads are like, figure out how to connect this to the Game of Thrones universe. That's your job.
How if you guys had to put a number on the earliest? So with this merger,
Yeah.
So we know between seasons is usually 2 years. If you guys had to put a number on the earliest that we would see a season 5, what would you say? I would say 5 years. I think it's gonna be like at least 5 years.
For sure, there'll be at least
this
3
mess.
more mergers before that happens. Then, at which point the show will never happen. Come on.
I mean, I look. I put it at the usual timeline, 2 years.
2
Like
years.
that's the timeline it's been, and so maybe 3. Like if they really hedge their bets, but I think like if it goes beyond that, the show's not happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. But the other thing too is like this new merger has shown, especially with the news of the DC stuff, the internal reorg that they had. The idea of what's going to happen with things like the one thing with Westworld is it's an HBO show, right? So it's not an HBO Max show, so it's already got a
Oh,
better
that's a good
chance of surviving whatever they decide. But I think the other big thing that they're going to look at, how did it perform numbers wise. And from what I can tell, and I am no expert and I don't have actual raw data to prove any of this, but at least from like the initial like social viewership and where it sits in trending, it is definitely lower than where season 3 was, which is never a good
Wow.
thing. So if the show numbers wise didn't do it, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, well, no season
Fuck
5.
it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And then
And
Netflix will buy it.
this is all HBO in particular. So HBO's always been like, we only make a few shows and at a high quality, and they're all in on House of the Dragon and some of those types of things. So if they're like, is it Westworld or is it another Game of Thrones spinoff? They'll probably pick a Game of Thrones spinoff.
Damn.
I mean, if that happens, I think if that happens, I will probably just be like, it's done. It ended in season 4. Delores had a nice monologue. The show started with interesting monologues. Actually, real quick, fun fact. So when season 4 came out, there were already like 3 episodes out. And one random evening, I was like, I'm going to watch Westworld. And I opened up the HBO Max app, and, it said Westworld season 4 now available. So I just hit that, and it played. And it starts with, a man on a train. And I'm like, wow, this seems familiar. And then, I'm there for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. Like, the show's basically copying the first episode of season 1.
Oh.
What's going on here? And it was about a good 10 minutes, and then finally I pulled up the info. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, oh, it just restarted the whole season.
You were watching episode 1, season
Yeah,
1.
so basically my big long spiel of it is the HBO Max UI is shit. Like,
Yeah.
Or
jeez.
you are old and don't know how to use technology.
Oh.
Fuck off. Fuck you.
Oh, which one is it?
I mean, it could. I mean, it's probably I'm a boomer, I guess.
Yeah.
So that
we're boomers
sucks.
now.
But
These
anyway, yeah.
violent delights.
But it was really it was a good 10 minutes. I was like, this is kind of cool. They're copying the first season again.
I will
ends up
say-
watching all of season
right.
1.
I will say, if season 5 does happen, right, and it's the promise of going back to Westworld, like that to me is exciting. Like what made the show good was being in the West. I know at the beginning of season 3 we talked about like it's kind of nice not to be here anymore, but these last 2 seasons you're like I kind of miss the DNA and the fabric of that show. It was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried with
it's called
Chicago,
Westworld.
and it obviously didn't work out that well because they were there for literally 10 minutes and then done. So
Yeah.
And then they died.
yeah, and then they died. Yeah, literally like that same evening, they were
Yeah.
dead. That
Tough.
sucks. Tough luck there, guys. So you guys already kind of brought up your bowl predictions, to revisit. Christian says everything is a simulation, our present in particular, with show being, the current humanity's past. And Arjuna says that Ford and Arnold are running a simulation the whole time.
Yeah. I do love that.
So those are both obviously like simulation relating to things. I think for my bowl prediction, I'm going to say what I've been saying, which is HBO or Discovery Warner or whatever will say yes, do a season 5, and it's going to relate somehow to the Game of Thrones universe.
Oh my god.
That is my bold prediction. And it could be something as simple as like a throwaway line that happens, but that's my prediction for the future.
Nice.
I'm writing it down.
I can tell that you're writing it.
We're reading it as you write it. It makes for a really good podcast. Us reading.
Reading is
We're
silently
talking
in your
about
mind.
reading.
All right, listen to us read
That's
silently.
oh my goodness. Real quick, before we ask that big question, I do want to fix a statement I said in our previous podcast, which was day shift, where we said to Arjuna, how does it feel that was your last pod in your 20s? And now we unfortunately have proven that wrong, because this is Arjuna's last pod in his 20s.
Oh.
So, Arjuna, let's throw that question back out,
Was your 20s good?
Yeah, that's the question.
After much consideration, and if you really take it all into account, ignore the CGI issues from the early 2010s.
What was the strongest season? 21, season 1, which was 21, or season 3, or
Season 6 was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
What about during
Really
the dark seasons where everything you have to do production remotely?
I can't remember those seasons. They all blur together.
Oh man,
So season 6 was your favorite. That's funny.
nice.
But it was good. Awesome. Well, now let's ask the real question. Krishna, was Westworld season 4 as a whole good? And was season 4 finale of Westworld, wow, I said that so weird, good?
I'm gonna say yes to both.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I thought season 4 is, to me, feels like the strongest since season 1. It still knows season 1. The emotional through line of Caleb and his daughter, I thought, was enough to get me through and keep me emotionally attached to the season. And the last episode got me in the feels with that goodbye between Caleb and his daughter. And so when a show makes you feel something and that's authentic, it's a good show. Or a good season, at least.
And also, just to clarify, when you're ranking the season, you're saying season 1 the best, and then season 4?
Yeah, I would go season 4 second, then I guess season 2 third, and season 3 last.
Gotcha. That's nice.
Yeah. Arjuna, was Westworld season 4 good, and was Westworld season 4 season finale good?
I'm going to say that the season as a whole was good. It was solid, was not the best. I think the assessment of it being the second best season is correct. I thought there's some really memorable parts. There were some, I think, like every season of Westworld, there's some interesting things to noodle on and think about. But there's always some execution issues where you're like, wait, what? And I thought that was reflected a little bit in the final few episodes, including the finale, which will have me say that the finale itself was not good. It was not the best finale. Recognizing, I think, that Westworld has a bit of a finale issue. I think besides the season 1 finale, each finale has had has been like generally the weakest episode of the seasons. Just had a hard time kind of wrapping things up, and maybe that's because there is so much speculation in the show, and you kind of get your hype up. It's like the Mephisto of it all with WandaVision.
I was gonna say, Mephisto,
where you think, oh, this is gonna happen, then it doesn't happen. You're like, well, that sucks because it didn't happen the way I wanted. There's probably a bit to that as well, but yeah, I would say the season kind of went down, and that reflected in like a down finale. Ravi, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for
was season 4 of Westworld good, and was the season 4 finale of Westworld good?
I'm going to agree with pretty much what you had said. Season 4 was good, yes. The finale, I'm going to say no, wasn't good, though. Again, to me, it just felt like a gigantic fluff thing where, you could have stuck this at the end of like episode 8 and been done and had it very condensed or whatever. It just felt like it was all dragged out a little bit too much. So
it was a bit of an epilogue.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I almost think like episode 7 serves as a better finale, and then episode 8 could have been a better season premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
And,
make sense.
honestly, if
yeah.
you break it up that way, maybe it's
Yeah.
way better. I don't know.
A lot better. And then I agree with what we both said. Like, this is probably the second best season out of everything. So, and again, I do want to apologize. I hyped it up for you guys, and I feel like the show let
I
me
mean, we
down.
still enjoyed the season, so that's good.
Either
Because
way,
we did say we were going to start it, and then we were going to get back to you if we were actually going to finish it. And both
That's
Chris
true,
and
you
I were
both
like,
did,
oh,
yeah.
we'll finish it.
yeah. So I mean, at the very least, then it wasn't that bad, I guess. So
Yeah, it was entertaining.
I'll
There are
take that-
worse things.
I'll take that. As
There
a win-win.
are worse things. Yeah.
And that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good. As always, thank you for listening and joining in. You can find full episodes and cut downs on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wasitgood. Follow us on Twitter at Was It Good, on TikTok and Instagram at Was It Good Pod. And we will be back with a She-Hulk episode 1 review later this week. Good day.
Wow.
Good day.